Once upon a time, there was an elephant, Ronald. I am sure you know how this goes. He was bewildered, frightened, absolutely terrified of mice. And mice, as you know, are very nice. Can you possibly imagine what there is to be frightened of in a mouse? They have the tiniest teeth in the world. They have soft, furry little bodies. They are the size of your finger. But Ronald couldn't help it. We don't always know why we're scared of things. Perhaps when Ronald was little, a mouse popped out of a tree when he was sleeping one night and jumped close to his face, and so seemed very big to our poor little Ronald. Perhaps Ronald had a bad dream about a mouse. These things can happen, especially when we eat too much chocolate before bed. And Ronald sure did like to eat a lot of chocolate before bed. In fact, eating chocolate in bed was his favorite thing to do. So, anyway, here was Ronald, a great big grown up 5-year-old elephant who was absolutely, earth quackingly, dumbfoundedly, flabbergastedly terrified of mice. And because he felt so frozen stiff, petrified of the little micey kingdom, he naturally assumed that all of his elephant family felt the same way. And being a bit of a joker in his family, he liked to scream out, "Mouse!" whenever he thought he would like to scare them and have a laugh. "Mouse!" he would cry behind his mama, and she would jump a meter in the air. And when she landed, all the trees in the vicinity would come crashing to the ground. It was a terrible mess. Ronald would giggle behind a tree. Mama wasn't very happy. Mama wasn't scared of mice, but she knew Ronald was, and every time he screamed mouse, she would think she needed to save him from somewhere a mouse was. "Mouse!" Ronald would scream behind Papa, and Papa would jump a meter in the air. And when he landed, all the water in the lakes would drench the villages, and there'd be no water left for the fish. Ronald would giggle behind a log. Papa wasn't very happy. Papa wasn't scared of mice, but he hated loud noises, and every time Ronald screamed mouse, it made his heart gallop, like a galloping horse, until he realized it was just Ronald screaming mouse. This worked like a treat for many months. Ronald would scream mouse, and everyone would get scared. But one day, Ronald screamed mouse, and nobody said or did anything at all. Hmm, maybe they didn't hear me. "Mouse!" he screamed again. But his whole elephant family ignored him and went about their business. They were so used to him screaming mouse that they had simply become used to it. To them, now, it was just another sound of the jungle. And then Ronald turned around, and what do you think he saw? A scary, hairy, creepy, crawly, chittering little mouse. "Eek!" shouted Ronald, and jumped into a tree. The mouse stood looking up at him and scratched his head. "What's wrong?" the mouse said. "Didn't you call for me?" And he was so soft and confused, so friendly and cute, that Ronald realized he was silly being scared. "Actually, I guess I did," he said to the mouse. And so, Ronald came down from the tree. Now, Ronald still cries "mouse" from time to time. But when he does, his mouse friend comes and they play on a seesaw together. And they both scream together with laughter. One year, before the summer began, the fires did. Ian saw the sky turn amber at sunset. The sun always looked a special way when there was a smoke around. The light turned to honey. Bird call rang out across the sand and slopes to say the day was done. His cows quietened and hung their heads. The roos assembled beneath the snow gums. But somewhere over the ridge, a spark had started and was finding the dry bark of the bush. When the dark had fallen, you could see a soft glow lighting the hills of the horizon. There was a smell of smoke, soft at first, but as the rim of light grew brighter in the darkness, it turned sharp and bit the senses. It made you feel as though you needed to cough. Ian's dog, Dave, gave a whimper and put his nose to the floor. Ian knew that the tanks were dry. It hadn't rained in months and months. He knew that you needed water to put out a fire, and he knew that fires move fast. Ian got the ute from the garage, and Dave hopped in the front seat beside him. They would need to drive to town, call the alarm. There were houses in the area that mightn't have seen the fire yet. Alone, Ian couldn't fight the fire, but maybe together they could. The road to the town was bumpy. Ian and Dave bumped up and down together. On the way, they saw a koala that had come down from its tree and was sniffing the air, looking worried. Dave stuck his head out of the car and barked, as though telling the koala what was coming. But the koala knew. Animals knew these things. In town, lots of neighbors had gathered together. They were choosing people to help in the best way they could. Some were putting on uniforms of the volunteer fire service and getting ready to drive the truck to the fires, where they'd use their hoses to try and put it out before it got too big. Some are finding safe places for people to sleep, people whose houses were too close to the fire to stay their safety. Some people were collecting old clothes for the animals who would be burned in the flames, to hold them and make them feel as though they were safe. Animals had claws and could bite if they were afraid, but they would need to be cared for if their homes were burned. Everyone needs a home, and some of the animals were already endangered. Every animal possible would need to be saved. Although it was nighttime, the sky had now turned a deep red. It felt like being on the planet Mars. Ian put on his uniform. He was going in the fire truck. He knew how to use the hose. He knew when to stay and fight a fire, and when to flee because it was too big. He knew how to put on the heavy uniform when the heat was stifling, and the smoke stung your eyes, and little embers flew through the air like fireflies in a windstorm. "Stay here, mate," he said to Dave. But Dave whimpered and put his paw on him. Dave wanted to come. So Dave came with Ian and the other firefighters in the truck. The men and women were teachers and shopkeepers, builders and gardeners. It didn't matter what you did for a job. Everyone was working together to put out the flames and save the town, houses, animals, and the bush. The truck reached the front of the flames. There were embers and thick black smoke. The trees whipped back and forth in the heat of the blaze. Ian and Janine jumped out from the truck and began dragging the heavy hose towards the flames. The fire singed their cheeks. It was angry and deadly. Then their team turned on the water and it surged out towards the flames. But it was so small compared to the towering fire. They saw it turn to steam. It would take a lot of water to put out these flames. Suddenly, Ian heard Dave barking from the truck. He looked up and saw him leaping at the window. Then Dave jumped from the truck and ran into the towering flames. "Dave!" Ian shouted. But Dave didn't listen. Ian saw his best friend run into the blaze and disappear amid the black smoke and darkness. Ian wanted to go after Dave, but he couldn't. He needed to hold the hose and keep the water going. Through tears, he kept his hands on the hose. And then suddenly, like a miracle, saw Dave emerging back through the smoke and flames. Dave was badly burnt. In his mouth, he held a baby Joey. The baby Joey was in a bad way. Dave was in a bad way too. The two of them were black with smoke. David tried to save the baby wallaby. He must have seen him from the truck. One of the firefighters took a blanket and wrapped it around Joey. Another one wrapped a blanket around Dave. They waited in the truck until a new team could arrive and take over, so they could bring the injured animals back. When they got to town, Dave and Joey were taken to the animal hospital. Dave recovered, and Joey became his best friend. There were lots of animals, homes, and bush saved that day. Some said Dave was a hero, others say they all were. Carl loves to explore her river. She spends hours playing in the clear blue water. How many rivers are there on Earth? Coral wonders. Where does this river lead? I wish I could swim to the ocean. One day, a rainbow fish appears, struggling in the river grass. I've never seen such a beautiful fish. Thanks, Coral. Let me help you, little one. The fish swishes its tail. Come with me, she says. You saved me, so I will share with you a gift from the ocean. A gift from the ocean? Coral dives into the river. Cool water swirls around her body. Coral and the rainbow fish swim and swim. They keep swimming through the river. Over an enormous cresting wave and into the ocean. Finally, they reach the ocean's heart. Carl can barely believe what she sees. The rainbow fish waves its tail in a water dance. The ocean water is cool and fresh. It wraps itself around Coral like a sweet hug. Then, a gate to the underwater world opens. Coral thinks, I have never seen so much light. Welcome to our world, beautiful explorer, the fish say. With this crown, you are now one of us. The fish take Carl to rest on a bed of the softest seaweed. Please stay with us, the fish say. A salty drop falls on Carl's eyelashes. She blinks. The underwater world has disappeared. Coral is lying next to her beloved river. She wonders, was it all a dream? Everyone she knows has their own dreams. Coral dreams of becoming a great explorer. Rainbow fish, I will return to you, Carl whispers. Someday, I will return to you. When Rosie Posy went to bed, all kinds of things crept in her head. It seemed as though she felt cocooned in light from stardust bird call moon. And then, in rumpled sheets and pillows, she'd heard the call of breezy billows. Outside the glass, beyond the trees, tiptoeing lawn-wet high trapeze. Ants and butterflies, insects all, inviting her to attend the ball. Rosie Posy kicked her legs, emerged from sheets outside the bed. And stepped onto the calm wood floor and put her fingers to the door. And turning the handle, crept away through darkling night and towards the day. The nighttime garden was cool and wan. Things were so different without the sun. The trees watched over little Rosie. She breathed in deeply, eager, dozy. The wonders held her gripped with awe. Above were stars, below she saw. A praying mantis held his heart. A tiger crept through shadowed park. A crane crept lightly through the bowers, while everywhere laughed miles of flowers. Roses here and iris there, lotus pushing towards the air. The music had started slowly now, a dog's streaming noises, a cat's meow. The sound of whispers between two friends, a bubbling river where it wends. The moon above, high out of reach, invited her to a secret beach. A sandy spot where, come the dawn, the roses would shake off their thorns. And open to the wildling sun, and smooth the sand for everyone. And by the tunes of nighttime dreaming, replace moonbeams with dancing, beaming. Bill woke up one morning and got ready for school. He put his clothes, had breakfast, and brushed his teeth. When he went to kiss his mom goodbye, she checked his bedroom. Uh-oh. At school, Bill decided to make the biggest spitball it ever was. He tore off a piece of his workbook and slowly began to chew it. When it was a nice, big, gubby mess, he took it out and pushed it into an empty pen barrel. Then whoosh, he blew it at his best friend Sarah. At lunchtime, Bill ate his ice cream before he ate his sandwiches and fruit. In the afternoon, Bill swung back on his chair. He swung and swung until the chair slipped out from under him, and oops, he landed on the floor. After school, Bill saw his brother Ben. They decided to have a no-holds-barred mega wrestle match at the bus stop. Bill was on top, then Ben was on top, then Bill, then Ben, then, uh-oh, their shirts were ripped. Ben broke his bag. Back at home, Dad had made a chocolate cake for afternoon tea. After he'd cut the cake into pieces, there was one piece left over. Before asking if anyone else wanted a cake, Bill had dipped in, grabbed the cake, and stuffed the whole thing in his mouth. No one could take it from him now. Afterwards, Bill and Ben had homework to do, but Bill spent the whole time watching YouTube videos about his favorite computer game, Rat Race Laser Blaster Boy. When Mom came to check on him, his homework wasn't done. There was an answer to all of this. The planet where all of this is okay is known as Alexa 2222072. On this planet, the resident aliens love to leave their bedrooms a mess. They think it's great because it looks more colorful that way. They have spitball competitions for sport and always eat their dessert before their main meal. On Alexa 2222072, swinging on chairs is so accepted that they do not have swings in the playgrounds, only chairs. No holds barred, mega wrestle matches are mandatory at bus stops for every child over the age of 5. Chocolate cakes grows from trees, and so nobody minds if you eat the last piece, because you can just go and get some more. Moreover, YouTube videos of people playing Rat Race Laser Blaster Boy are so highly regarded that it is the only thing you can watch on TV. And your only homework is to count how many times Laser Blaster Boy gets the racing rat. But Alexa 2222072 is 722 light years away from planet Earth. And so, it is only natural that the rules of Alexa 2222072 did not apply to our friend Bill. That night, Mom and Dad went to get in their bed, but there was a lump under the covers. When they pulled the quilt back, we should be waiting for them but Bill. Luckily, this time, it was totally, completely, unequivocally okay on planet Earth. Because even naughty Earthlings deserve a cuddle before bed.